NIWC Pacific, formerly known as Spawar, are buzzwords used to identify the Space and Naval Warfare Systems Command and Echelon 2 organization within the U.S. Navy. All the Echelon 2 means is they are one step removed from the Chief of Naval Operations. They handle command, control, communications, computers, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance of information systems that aid the federal government. They run missions, manage cyberspace and the space satellites, as well as run air traffic control for Afghanistan. They also handle cyberspace, IT communications, and provide information through voice, video, and data. They run surveillance and intelligence operations to collect information to assist the U.S. military. Why Spawar? John Lear, heir to Learjet, said they have a laser weapon that creates a process called molecular dissociation. It means the laser can turn steel and concrete to dust by separating molecules. He also called it non-self-quenching, which basically means it has to be stopped by outside means or it will continue to eat everything in sight, like Mars nanomites in the G.I. Joe movie. I was doing some research on lasers because so much energy is needed to do something as large as Twin Towers on 9/11, as John Lear theorized. Then I discovered chemical reactions that can create enormous amounts of energy, so there will more about this as I learn more. Now, I did not begin this blog for the purpose of going over 9/11. I started as a link to another topic, my favorite, on UFO, extraterrestrial, technology. However, I was sidetracked by the interesting information I was getting around the topic of molecular dissociation. So I continued to research the topic and found it was a prevalent idea of what happened in 9/11 to the Twin Towers, which will never be answered as our government's investigation was hampered at the request of President George W. Bush and Vice President Dick Cheney. It could account for the immense clouds of dust and apparent disintegration of some 425,000 cubic yards of concrete, the short duration and low temperature of the jet fuel fires, the unexplained fire and collapse of Building 7, the Salomon Brothers building, which was an office building constructed as part of the original World Trade Center. The fact the rubble burned for more than 3 months despite being constantly sprayed with water. The report from the medical examiner of many of the dead bodies were vaporized. The absence of any flight data from the plane's black boxes. Dr. Judy Woods, where did the towers go? Evidence of directed free energy technology on 9/11 is a spectacular example of the molecular dissociation of lasers on steel and concrete. A commenter on a blog called 9/11 World Trade Center, Molecular Dissociation, said the following: most folks don't realize that nukes the size of a grapefruit were available in the 1950s. Watching the films of the towers exploding sequentially from the top down speaks of explosives, and only mini nukes fit the bill. The buildings, like most high-rises, used lightweight concrete on the floor pans. This is concrete that uses pumice instead of rock, and constitutes the majority of the pyroclastic clouds. However, the spire and core of the North Tower, standing on its own, before it disintegrates, is referenced by Judy and is the smoking gun, along with Building 6. It speaks to the fact that directed energy weapons were also deployed. World Trade Center Building 6 is the building with a roughly circular crater extending down to below street level. Except that it was Building 7, not 6, that the commenter referenced to make the valid points. So are we responsible for 9/11? Is the Spawar the creator of the laser that brought down the World Trade Center? Some would call this a far reach, a conspiracy theory. That is the problem with withholding evidence or the scope of an investigation like our former President Bush requested. We are now left to piece together evidence from scientists and others. The real truth is we will never know why 3,000 people died that day.